to do that.
There
Okay.
you go.
All right, great.
Done.
All right. Okay, so
Great.
who is Nee? Nee, you're welcome. Nee, if you are talking, we can't hear you. Nee.
I think they may be just connecting their audio, so it takes a couple of seconds
Yeah,
for you
it's
to.
connecting to audio. It can show.
Yeah.
You can see that it's connecting to audio.
Great. They're connected now, so
Okay.
should be able to hear.
All right, Nee, you're welcome.
Thank you.
All right, can you, so we just started, so what we've just been doing is to introduce ourselves. So can you just tell us about you and what got you interested in Mautic?
Okay, so my name is Wendell Nilai, and basically, I am a developer slash digital marketer, and I think I've been using Mautic for about almost 2.5 years, two and a half years, for a project I work on at the office. But it's been quite difficult finding a community in Africa. So I got really excited. I got really excited when I saw this meetup. That's why I decided to join. Because most of the information I've been getting or using to follow on Mautic has been coming from the Slack channel, the Mautic Slack channel. So it was challenging for a learning curve for me to use Mautic because sometimes it's difficult knowing how to even frame your questions when you don't really understand it. But it's been an interesting platform to try out and use, and I really enjoyed it. So when I saw this channel or meetup, I decided, why not? Let me just get in and see what's going on. So that's why I'm here. Yeah, that's basically it for me.
So much, Nee. Do you mind trying to put your name so that it's easy for us to be able to mention your name anytime you need to, in case you want to ask a question? Can you just change your name from Nee to something that maybe your first name, if you don't want to do your full name? Thank you. So we have Matthew. Matthew, please, can you quickly introduce yourself? Tell us about you and why you were interested in Mautic. Mautic, it seems your audio is not connected. All right. Okay, we can just go on because we don't, so that because of our time. Okay, let me quickly share again my screen so that we can then continue. So I'll be doing a brief introduction. Then we will go on to now have a presentation on understanding Mautic and what Mautic is all about. So again, my name is Oluwatobi Owolabi. So I took up the responsibility to be able to organize this in Lagos, and hopefully we are supposed to have it at NG Hub at Yaba, but unfortunately because of the lockdown, so we have to convert this to a remote meetup where everybody joins via video. So today I will just be doing a brief introduction about Mautic Lagos, and then Ruth is also on this call, and she's the community manager for Mautic, and she'll be telling us more about what Mautic, what is being done, and how we can also be part of it, and how we can also use it. So I want to inform us that this is going to be happening every month, every last Saturday of every month. So brace yourself. May 30th, we'll be having another one by 11 a.m. Fine, it can be online. If not online, then we might have to do physical. But as it looks now, online might be the next one because of the situation around. So please kindly join the Lagos Meetup community so that you can get updates about upcoming meetups. So, and that is going to be happening on, if you just go through this meetup link, meetup.com/Lagos-meetup-Mautic/meetup-Lagos, you can actually join the Lagos community. All right, so we appreciate your feedback. This is our first meetup. This is the first time we'll be gathering to discuss about Mautic in Lagos, and we appreciate if you can also volunteer for the community, join, suggest. if you want to speak, like Nate said, he can, if you have something to share with the community, please feel free to share with the community whatever you feel like is going to be of benefit to the community. So please feel free to share, feel free to give feedback after this call. You can always reach out to me, or you can always reach out to Ruth. She's always available via the Slack channel. You can also, if you have any question, you can always put them on the forum, and you can always share anytime. So we also have a global community that I'm sure Ruth will be sharing more about later in her presentation. You can please try and join all of these channels so that you can be able to interact more and get more information about the community. You can also join on social media. So Mautic community on Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. So try and join. So today's agenda is we've done the welcome, we've done the icebreaker. That is where we have to introduce ourselves. So this is the introduction, and I'm done with the introduction right now. So the next we'll be having is the presentation on understanding Mautic, and that will be done by Ruth. Ruth is the community manager for Mautic. So Ruth, welcome.
Thank you. Okay,
Right,
bear with me a sec. I'll just share my screen. 1 second. Toby, if you go on mute, then it might be a bit, there we go, better. Okie dokie. Right, I think we're almost there. Just get my notes up. Okay, so hello everyone. Let me go into full screen so this is a bit bigger for you to see. So assuming you can all hear me okay, from the introduction earlier, some of you mentioned that you're new to Mautic, or you're kind of like you've come across it but you haven't really used it, and some of you already know what Mautic is and you're already using it. So for some of you this will be going over things you already know, and for some of you it will be an introduction to what the tool is. And then after the sort of basic introduction, I'm going to talk a little bit about what the teams in the community have been working on, and also practical ways that you can get involved and you can actually be part of Mautic. So let's get cracking. So as Toby mentioned, I'm the community manager for Mautic. Mautic started life in 2014 as an open source project. So I used to be involved in the Joomla communities, and I was on the leadership team of the Joomla community for several years and met DB Hurley, who created Mautic. So I've been involved since it was first created, pretty much as a contributor. And in 2016, DB Hurley created a SaaS-based version of Mautic, which is based on the open source product. But it's like a hosted environment where you pay Acquia now and they host it for you. And that was acquired in May 2019 by Acquia. So they acquired Mautic Inc. And Acquia basically funds my role, but they also support the community in a lot of other ways. And if you haven't heard of Acquia before, it's founded by Dries, who also created Drupal. So they're mainly a Drupal-based agency, but they're now doing much more across the digital experience area. So as I mentioned, I had a lot of involvement in Joomla, and I've been an open source user for about 18 years. My operating system of choice is Kubuntu, and my past history is I created and grew a full service digital agency. So I used to run an agency that built websites, but that also was a specialist in Mautic, and we created themes and we did custom instances. And I'm based in Ipswich in the UK, which is in the east of England. As Toby mentioned, I'm online quite a bit in my role, and I help the community kind of grow and thrive. So if you have any questions, you can reach out to me. And also there's a link at the top of the screen, so if you've got any questions as I'm talking, you can go to that link and post a question, and then it will pop up in my screen. These slides will be available afterwards as well, and some of the resources I'm mentioning will be available afterwards as well. So I mentioned briefly about digital experience, and those of you who are in the marketing world will start coming across this phrase, but I think it's one of those phrases that is often a bit of a buzzword. So I thought it'd be helpful to just explain what we mean by that. And what we mean by creating a good digital experience is that you can provide a consistent and personalized brand experience across all the different touch points that your customers might encounter in all the different channels, whether that's email, text messages, on your website, that is used by you and your company, by the customer and the company. So we're talking about enabling the customer to have the same consistent experience no matter where they encounter you on the web, but also no matter where they are in their customer journey, so that they feel like it's a smooth process through their digital experience. So maybe you can use the raise hand feature to say whether if you think that your company or organization gives a good consistent experience across all channels. So if you do think that that's true, then you can use the raise hand feature. Usually at events, I get people to put their hand up, so it's a bit different doing that in a virtual conference. But what I tend to find is there's not usually very many hands raised in the room, and that's quite common. So a research study was done, and it showed that 73% of brands feel that they can't provide that consistent experience across different digital channels. And quite a lot of those are not very effective at uniting data between different places that their customer interacts with them in a digital world. So the big problem with that is often that these are separate silos and they don't talk to each other, or there's data in place A which is not being used in place B. So that results in a disparate experience for your customers. And it does really matter, because if you can't consolidate the data, you can't give a truly personalized experience across all those different channels. So if you know what they're doing on the website and that information is not coming into the system that you use to send emails, they could be accessing stuff on the website and you're sending them emails about something completely irrelevant to what they're interested in. So that doesn't deliver a very personalized experience for the visitor. And it feels very clunky. And as a user, if you've given some information in one place and then you're sent really irrelevant information somewhere else, it doesn't really feel like a positive experience. And it does really matter, because when people do first encounter your brand or company, they touch at least one digital channel, but they're not actually ready to buy. So 70% of people, when they first come to maybe your website or your social media or something like that, they're not actually ready to buy. If you nurture those prospects effectively and you use personalization effectively to do that, then you can have up to 47% increase in sales volume. So that's a huge increase in potential sales for your customer or for your website, if you are effective in bringing your customer through that digital experience in a personalized way that is consistent across all the channels. So you might be thinking, well, yeah, okay, fine, but what's Mautic and how does that affect me? Mautic is a fully featured open source marketing automation platform. It's available for you to download on GitHub, or you can install it on a DigitalOcean droplet. You can run it locally to try it out and see how it works. You can run it on your own infrastructure. You can do whatever you like with it because it's fully open and available. And what it does is it automates and measures your marketing efforts. So it allows you to integrate and personalize lots of different properties so that you can deliver that seamless customer experience. And we're going to dig into a bit about the kind of problems that it solves in the next slide. So some of the, if you don't know about this problem that marketers face, the average marketer will use multiple tools to do their job. So it's up in the sort of 30s or 40s for many marketers. What Mautic does is it allows you to bring a lot of those tasks under one hood, so you don't have lots of disparate silos doing the same thing. And it also integrates with a lot of tools as well. So at the basic level, it allows you to drop some JavaScript tracking on your website that allows you to understand what resources people are accessing. So get an understanding of the behavior on your website. It allows you to monitor what kind of assets they're downloading. And we also have built-in web forms that means you can take someone from an anonymous visitor who you don't know who they are to having them fill in a form, and then you can associate their browsing activity and behavior as a known person and then take activity based on that information. You can also build landing pages in Mautic. So for example, if you were doing an AdWords campaign or you were running a social media campaign and you wanted to be able to create very tightly customized landing pages specific to that campaign, you can do that within Mautic. And also build emails. We have an email builder. We're about to launch a new version of the email builder, which is much improved. And we also have some standard things that you would expect from marketing automation, like progressive profiling. And what that means is not asking for hundreds of fields when you first get someone to fill in the form, but you ask the basic information. And then the next time you engage with them and you need some more information, you just ask them for the next piece of information and you gradually populate their profile over time. And then as you build out from that, we can segment users. So you could say, I'm only interested in people who are based in Nigeria. And then you could drill down further than that to say only in these 3 cities or this region. Only people who've clicked on this asset or received and opened this email. So the segmentation is really powerful because it allows you to really tailor your marketing. Based on that, you can then automate campaigns with our interactive campaign builder, send email marketing, but also Mautic has been built from the ground up to be multi-channel. So we have emails, but we also have text messaging. We also have the ability to send focus items, which are like pop-ups or modal bars or information on your website. You can also send web Chrome pop-ups, which annoy some people, but in some cases they are relevant. And dynamic content. So you can create slots on your website which you inject personalized information in based on what you know about the visitor or based on their behavior. So you can change what shows on your website based on if they're, for example, a known user or a not known user. And then I'll give you some examples of that in action. And then as you move into more kind of marketing, powerful marketing tools, you can do account-based marketing. There's scoring and stages, so you can automatically move a lead through stages within Mautic so that you can get a sense of how warm they are or how it can be relevant to your business or just general top of the funnel, middle of the funnel, whatever is relevant to you. Because we have an open REST API, we already have lots of integrations, but you can also build your own. And our REST API is documented at developer.mautic.org. And we have lots of other features such as A/B testing for emails and landing pages out of the box, customizable reporting and customizable dashboards. So you can see the information that you're interested in very, very quickly. So these are some examples of how you might use Mautic. I'm just going to go through these relatively quickly. We can maybe talk about these in the breakout groups afterwards. So a customer finds you online and they click through to a resource of yours. So maybe they click through to your shop from your Facebook page, for example. And when they land on your shop, you can use a focus item to show them a discount coupon if they give you the email address. And a lot of the time people will do this if it's something they're interested in. So at this point, they're an anonymous visitor because you don't know who they are. You just know how they came to visit your site and what pages they're on. If they fill in the email address, then you know who they are and you can send them that coupon code to them by email automatically. And so if they click through on that email, you can send them to a page that says, hey, thanks for signing up. Here's your coupon code or what have you. And if they don't open that email, you can also automatically follow up with an email afterwards, say 7 days, 14 days. You can specify the timelines there. And then say they go through to add an item to the cart and maybe they come back a week later and they've completely forgotten the coupon code. You can use the focus item to automatically show that again to them and say, don't forget you've got this coupon that you can use in your cart. And then they check out, and then you know that that coupon code is associated with that customer. And then Mautic can automatically send them their confirmation email. And if it's appropriate, you can also send them an SMS. If you ask them for their mobile number, you could push an SMS from Mautic as well. And we can also deal with SMS replies now. So if they reply to a message, you can deal with that. And potentially you can send shipping updates. You could send a feedback survey through any of those channels. And all of this can be automated from Mautic in one place. And retention is another way you can use Mautic quite powerfully. So you ask customers what kind of things they're interested in, or maybe you've got a shop that sells clothes and you ask them for the sizes that they are so that you can then tailor the information you send them or show them on the website to only show relevant information. So they get that in an email maybe and they update the profile because they want to get more relevant information. You can then send them more targeted communications with relevant offers, which means they're more likely to buy if it's relevant to them. Again, if they don't open, they can be sent a reminder email automatically. They click through to view the offers and you can monitor that click. So you can monitor email opens, you can monitor clicks on links, and you can use that kind of information with an A/B test to find out which are the most effective headlines or titles or buttons or what have you. And then hopefully they will add some products to the cart and your system like Magento or whatever might recommend other products to them. You can even potentially integrate with a third party that does your loyalty system so that you incentivize them to shop again with offers. And over time, this will help build your customer profile. So it allows you to develop an understanding of what your customers are interested in. But not everything stays online, right? Sometimes you have to send stuff offline. And this was a really interesting case study from one of our, oh, we've got another participant, so I'll just add them. This was a really interesting case study from the community where they had an online to offline marketing challenge. So a customer finds you online and they click through to a resource. So this is the same as we had before. But it may be that it's more appropriate to send them something in the post. So it might be like a holiday tour or something where they want to look through a brochure and share it with their family or something like that. So you can send them a brochure in the post. You need their address details for that, obviously, so you would save that information back to the Mautic profile. And then the customer is identified because they've given you that information to get the brochure. And in this case, what they did is they built an integration with Deutsche Post via a plugin, which allowed them to then trigger the sending of, old-fashioned snail mail brochure in the post. But what you can do with that is provide them with some kind of custom code so that when that brochure arrives and they go to the website, they can put that code in and you know that that code is related to that brochure and therefore you can track that journey. And likewise, if they give it to their friends, you know that code has come from that brochure. And the coupon is then associated with their booking. They get a confirmation via whichever channel they prefer to receive it through. So it might be that they prefer to receive it by email or by text message or by post or all three. So the customer is empowered in their preference center to choose how they hear from you. So it's quite powerful, as I'm sure you can understand. Like there's lots of different options you have available to use Mautic effectively. So some of you might be thinking, well, that's great, but how do I get started? So if you're a developer, then it should be fairly simple for you to get started. The basic knowledge you need is how to set up some kind of web hosting environment. So the simplest way to do this is with a local host environment where you're using it on your local machine, and you can just set it up and start testing. Generally, we recommend either a LAMP or a LAMP stack. You can run this on Windows, but the vast majority of people do run this on a Linux-based system. You can run this on a simple droplet. We do generally recommend that you do run it on a virtual private server, even if it's a small one, rather than running it on shared hosting. And the reason for that is as your Mautic instance gets bigger and you have more leads, the jobs that have to run to process them take a bit longer, and shared hosting tends to have quite tight limits on how long scripts can execute for. And we find that people who are trying to run bigger instances in shared hosting or in shared hosting where they have very small limits can come up with errors and problems. So that's why we recommend this kind of environment. And so the basic process, and this might actually be a good topic for another meetup or a workshop or something, the JavaScript tracking pixel, you can pop it in manually. So it's just a bit of JavaScript that you can drop into your site. And as soon as you drop that onto your site, it will start sending information back to Mautic about people visiting a website, and they'll be anonymous at that time. If you use a content management system or a web-based platform, there are lots of other plugins that we have already available for you. So if you go to mautic.org/marketplace, you will see lots of plugins listed there. All of the main content management systems are there. There's also plugins for things like Gatsby, Grav CMS, things like that. And the next bit is down to you as marketers. So the next bit is down to you to understand what your customer journey is and how you're going to personalize that through this journey. And it's all about understanding what the customers do on your website, how that translates into your business, and where you want to use Mautic to personalize. Most people will start with just observing what's happening on the website once they install the tracking code. Then they'll start thinking, okay, let's put some forms in and use Mautic forms instead of our web forms. So that information comes into Mautic. Then maybe they might replace some assets with tracked assets in Mautic, and then start looking at things a bit more adventurous like email campaigns and dynamic web content. But this is the bit where you have to think more strategically about how you're going to use Mautic. So once you have understood your customer journey and you understand where you're going to use Mautic, you have to connect up any other data sources. And what I mean by that is you might be using a customer relationship management tool. So something like HubSpot or Salesforce or Pipedrive or something like that. Oh, I'm just going to pop you on mute. And you might have your customer information in that tool and your sales information in that tool. So what we were talking about before about having those disparate silos of information, you want to connect them up as much as you can so that you can share that information. And that's where our integrations come in. If there isn't an integration with the tool you're using and they have an API, you can use our API to connect up and write your own plugin. And we do have tutorials on how to write plugins for Mautic as well. Infrastructure-wise, for those of you who are developers, is based on the Symfony framework. At the moment, the stable release Mautic 2 is using Symfony framework version 2. We're just about to launch Mautic 3, which is a whole rewrite and re-upgrade to Symfony 3. So that is in the pipeline. We use Twig for templates, HTML and CSS, PHP. So if you're familiar with that stack, you'll probably very quickly get on board with Mautic. And we have lots of resources for developers as well. So once you've kind of got you've understood your customer journey and where Mautic fits into that, you've connected up all the data sources that you want to be able to push and pull information from. The next bit is to start collecting the information. So I mentioned earlier in the presentation that you can build landing pages. This is an example of a simple landing page built in Mautic to get more information about a customer and provide them with something useful. So this is about best practices for lead nurturing, and it's an option to get an ebook. So on the left-hand side here, you've got a simple Mautic form, which has first name, last name, email, phone, date, and unsubscribed company. I'm not quite sure what they mean by that, but and just some text around it. So this is built using a drag and drop editor. We're also in the process of looking at having a new editor because the one we've got at the moment is good, but it's a little bit clunky at times. If you don't want to go the full process of embedding forms in a landing page, but you just want to replace your existing forms in your website, this form here, which we have on mautic.org, on our download page, this is a Mautic form. So you can just replicate the forms you have on your website in Mautic and either drop those forms in directly. So if you use a plugin for WordPress, you can just use a shortcode like form ID 1 or something like that. You can also directly copy the HTML for the form if you prefer to do that. And there are lots of other integrations. So if you use, for example, WordPress and you're using Gravity Forms or any of those other tools, generally they will often have an integration to push that information over to Mautic. So you don't necessarily have to use the Mautic forms. You could use your existing form and see if there's a plugin for Mautic. So those are the two ways of dealing with forms. Focus items I touched on briefly. Focus items are can be like a pop-up, which can be either full screen or they can be small pop-ups, or they can appear from the bottom. They can also be just a bar. So we used to use a focus item on our website to tell people useful information, for example. But we also have the ability to do exit intent, to have something like this pop up when you look like you're going to navigate away from the website, with the idea being that it brings people back into the website, or, you know, it might be his 25% discount if you subscribe to our newsletter, for example. And this is an example of how that's done in a campaign. So you can say if they're in this segment and they visit this page, show this focus item. And you can say show it immediately, show it after 5 seconds, or anything like that. So it's super easy, and you can do that really tightly segmented. So you could say only show this to people who are in Lagos, and, you know, like show a pop-up about this meetup, for example. And it would only show that if they are determined to be coming from that region, or if they've downloaded this asset, or if they're in this stage. So you can really tailor it quite closely. Focus items are a bit like love it or hate it, really. Some people love them, some people hate them. I'm a bit on the fence. I think they're good if they're used effectively. And I touched a bit on progressive profiling. So this is automatically gathering different information from people when they come back to your resources, rather than getting everything all in one go. And that allows you to gain more information and then change the segmentation based on what they tell you and deliver relevant content. So it could be that they fill in a form and you find out that actually they're not interested in my music products anymore. They're now interested in my reading books. So you stop sending them content about music and you start sending them content about books, for example, if you were a bookstore. And many of you will be familiar with the joys that is GDPR. I'm sure it's come across your radar, even if you haven't had to deal with it yourself. Mautic can be set up to be completely GDPR compliant. You can set up a preference center like this, which allows your customers to decide what kind of information they want to receive. It also allows them to choose which channel they prefer to hear from you in. So they might not want to get emails, but they do want to get text message, for example. And it also lets them have the option of don't contact me more than, say, once a week. So you might say globally, I don't want to contact my customers more than once a day, but the customer has the ability to say, I only want to hear from you once a week or once a month. And also it gives them the option to pause communications entirely. So it's much more effective rather than just a global unsubscribe. They have the option to be much more granular and to be able to decide how they interact with you. And it means that you're more likely to be able to offer them really tightly personalized information which they're going to engage with, rather than general information that might not be so relevant for them. Oops. Okay. So once we've captured that information from them, whether it's through a focus thing, whether it's through a lead form or a landing page, we then nurture them. And I've talked a little bit about segmenting. So this is a screenshot of the interface that you have when you build a segment. So it uses Boolean terms. So you can say, in this example, we've got that the lead status equals nurture and that they were identified less than a certain date. And you could say less than 7 days ago or less than a month ago. And you can build and or segments like that to your heart's content. So there's no limit. You can build as many as you want. With self-hosted Mautic, you have no limit to the number of leads. You have no limit to the number of emails you can send. You're only limited by your tech infrastructure. And email-wise, you don't have to send it all out through your own server. We have integrations with a whole bunch of other third-party providers, or you can just use an SMTP server. So you can use Amazon SES, you can use Spark Post, SendGrid, MailJet, all of those tools, whichever you prefer to use. And this is an example of our drag and drop campaign builder. So you can see here that there's a nurture list, and then we've got several emails that are going out. So one's going out right away, one's going out after 7 days, one's going out after 14 days. And then after that, you can see that there are some lines that are green and some lines that are red. The green lines mean this action has happened, and the red line means this action hasn't happened. So you can send an email and say, if they book a meeting, go down the green route, add 10 points, tell the coordinator, send them a confirmation the day before the meeting, send them a text message and an email reminder, and then the day after the meeting, send them a survey. If they haven't booked a meeting, then in 3 days, email them with a reminder of the benefits of the service. And all of that will run automatically once you set it up, sending the emails that you specify, the text messages that you specify. And it is all drag and drop. It's super, super easy. So the onboarding process for this kind of builder is much, much quicker than the more complex ones that you see in Marketo and competitors like that. And this is an example of dynamic content in an email. So this one over here might go to people in Europe, and then this one goes to people in the USA. And it will automatically do that based on the region that the person is from. And you can do that with your website as well. So I'm aware this is very much a whistle-stop tour. Hopefully it gives you a flavor of some of the things you can then have a play around with later. So I mentioned earlier about using dynamic content. And I think this is really important because the web space on your website is, really valuable. So here we're asking for an email. And what I see all the time is like, if I've already given my email address, they're still asking for my email. And A, that's a waste of space. And B, it's not a very personalized experience because I've already given you my email and you're asking me to fill in my email address. It doesn't really make sense. So what you can do with Mautic is have this as a dynamic web content slot. And if they're a known user, then you push a call to action that's more relevant to where they are in their customer journey. And you can do that with anything. You could do that with the whole header. You could do that with just a small block. You could have advertising blocks down the side. So it's quite a powerful tool that you can use. And you can, the actions, the behaviors that trigger the content can be whatever you want them to be. You just define that in your campaign. And this is a quick demo of the current email builder, which is drag and drop. It allows you to edit the regions that are blue. And you click in, then scroll down and enter your text here. And then you can also create a variation based on, for example, their position being a CMO or their position being a marketing assistant. So you might send very different text in an email, in the same email, to someone who is a senior executive compared to someone who is a lower level marketer who's actually doing the work. And Mautic allows you to do that automatically with the variations. And A/B testing as well is out of the box for both emails and for landing pages. So it allows you to decide what the criteria is. So that might be email open rate, it might be click-through rates, it might be people filling in a form. And you decide what traffic weighting you want to give to the variant and then hit go. And when that campaign goes, it will send it to the group that you define and decide which one's the winner, and then you can say, I want to send all the rest of the emails to the winner, and they will all go out to the winner. So there's also some new features which are coming for this, which will allow you to automatically assign the winner, but we've got to get through a few PRs in the community to get that feature merged. I mentioned that the reporting is customizable, so you can create reports based on any data that you have in Mautic, and you can have text-based grids, you can have graphs, you can have pie charts, you can have all kinds of information. There's a whole bunch of reports that come out of the box with Mautic, but you can create all your own ones. And we also have a users and groups permissions level, which means that you can create users in Mautic that only have access, for example, to their own leads. They can't see anyone else's leads. And you can assign them access to reports as well in the same way. So that's like a very, very quick whistle-stop tour. And I'm aware that I now have 6 minutes to talk about how you can contribute to Mautic. So I'll do my best. But if anyone has any specific questions about Mautic, we can answer those in the session after this talk. So Mautic is an open source project. And although we have Mautic Inc., which is now Acquia engineers who basically created a lot of Mautic, we do rely heavily on our open source community. And there are a lot of opportunities for you to get involved in the open source community. We just recently had our community sprint, which Toby was involved in organizing the marketing side of things. We had 62 people sign up. This was all online, so it was going to be in Belgium, but because of the COVID situation, we moved online. And we had around 40 contributors actually turn up over the 2 days and contribute something, which was fantastic for us. We got an awful lot of work done, and a lot of people came in and got involved, even complete newcomers to Mautic, which was great to see. So the teams that we have in the community, this is relatively new in the last 8-9 months. We've created 5 teams: community education, legal, marketing, and product. So these are the teams that the community felt best represented how we need to chunk down the different tasks in our community. And I'm going to talk a little bit about each team and what they've achieved in the last quarter. So this is in January, February, March, and some open tasks that we have for each team, which you could jump in and get involved in. So the community team, the vision of the community team is having more people contributing to Mautic. And they're very much involved in community-based stuff. So Toby mentioned he really enjoys building community. This is a great team if that's what you're interested in. And then the last quarter, we launched our community health dashboard, which is at dashboard.mautic.org, where you can see all the activity from the project. We also launched our community handbook, and this is a great place to learn about contributing in the Mautic community. And we launched our Meetup Pro account, which anyone who wants to organize a meetup group anywhere in the world can get a meetup group, which we pay for, which is funded by Acquia. And we held the sprint we were just talking about, and we've just started organizing our first Mauticon event, which is going to be fully virtual. So you can all get involved in helping organize it or attending it as well. And some of the tasks that they have open at the moment. So we work publicly on a Trello board. Every team has a Trello board. And these are just some of the tasks that I picked up from the community team's Trello board that are open tasks they need people to help with right now. So one is obviously organizing Mauticon, and there's lots of different parts to that. There's the practical stuff about organizing speakers. There's the marketing side of it. There's the technical infrastructure side of it. We're working on creating a campaign to invite contributors who've been involved in the past to come back and start getting involved. We're building a pack of resources to support new meetup organizers, so to help them get started, and loads more. So we'll share a link to the Trello team where you can have a look at those later, but that's 3 of the tasks that I found for the community team. Oh, in the wrong window. The education team, so a couple of people, when we were saying what we were interested in, you said about being interested in teaching and training. The education team is involved in managing the forums, but also the documentation, knowledge base, translations as well. That all falls under the education team. And in the last quarter, we launched a new documentation portal. We established some new categories in the forum. So there's a category for Mautic in Nigeria, and there's also categories by language. And if you see a country or a language that is missing, just let us know and we can add those. I'm seeing a couple of messages in the chat, so let me just bring that up in case. Okay, yeah, it's completely free and open source, so you can download it from mautic.org/download. The only pricing, obviously, is hosting, so you would need to host it somewhere. Developing a new knowledge base, so that's something that we've been working on writing content for. And one area where people who are completely new to Mautic can help us a lot is by giving us insights into what information did you find helpful, what was missing, what do you think could be written more effectively or clearly, because it's quite challenging to do that if you've had your head in Mautic for the last 5 years. So newcomers to Mautic, this is a really great way. We're also currently in the process of reviewing all the YouTube videos because some of them are very old, and updating them and creating missing ones if there's features that don't have a YouTube video. And the aim is going to be that all the documentation or knowledge base articles will have a YouTube video associated with them. So you can watch the video and read the text, whatever is best for you. So that's one of the areas that you can get involved in contributing to: writing and editing articles, reviewing, planning and creating video resources. There's a lot to do in that area, so we really need help with that. And also moderating and curating the forums. So that can be as simple as just spending 10 minutes a day answering questions, or as complex as finding old threads and merging them all together, or bringing together articles that are about the same topic, managing the ideas forums. So there's lots of different ways you can contribute in the forums. The legal and finance team is probably the least interesting team for many people, but if legal and finance floats your boat, we have lots of things you can help us with there. At the moment, we're pursuing 18 trademark reports, so that's where someone's using the Mautic trademark in a way that they're not allowed to. One of them has actually just recently been resolved, so that's 17. We're also establishing a budget so that the community has clarity on what funds are available, and reviewing and updating the trademark policy to make sure it's still relevant. And some of the ways that you can contribute to this team at the moment, this team is just me and the legal team at Acquia, so we would really love to have people involved. Helping us establish workflows to deal with trademark reports, helping us develop the community budget and build a process so that team leads can propose a budget at the end of the year, and then during the year they can track their spending. So we don't really have that process in place. So if you like money and tracking finances and that's your thing, then give me a shout, because I hate it and I'm just doing it because no one else is. So I'd love some help with that. The marketing team, so this is Toby's team, he's the assistant team lead. So the marketing team is all about raising awareness of Mautic for new users, and also telling people about what Mautic is. So doing presentations like this, going out to companies, creating resources so that we can tell people what Mautic is. And in the last quarter, we were represented at a really big open source conference. We launched the new website on Drupal. Toby's been working furiously on developing some audience personas, and as a result of that, we're going to be launching some new campaigns and the new newsletter. So some areas that they need help is creating a drip campaign for users when they first download Mautic, so that they get a series of emails to help them get started with Mautic and point them to the right resources. Create a pitch deck to help organizations who might be pitching Mautic to their customers. We've got lots of design related tasks to create social media visuals and visuals for blog posts and animations and icons that go with our tutorials. and loads more. So the marketing team has got a huge amount of tasks in their backlog. So, and then for the developers out there, if you're interested in development, project management, product management, any kind of technical documentation, test writing, the product team is the team for you. In the last quarter, we shipped the alpha and beta releases of Mautic 3, and we're going to do a beta 2 before it goes stable. We also shipped the 2.16.1 and 2 releases. We're in the process of developing the roadmap and implementing a new model on GitHub so that we can have branching and time-based releases. And they've done a lot of work, the product team. We've got a lot of work ahead of us as well. So triaging issues and pull requests is a really big one. We've got about 200 open pull requests and about 600 open issues that we're trying to work our way through. The releases are also led by community members. So there's the opportunity to be a release lead. We've got full training for that. So we have a team of people who have done this in the past who can help people understand what's involved. It is a technical role because you do have to test all the pull requests that we're including, but it is a great opportunity to get involved in the community. Improving test coverage is something that I'm helping to champion. So that's writing unit tests, writing codeception acceptance tests so that we pick up bugs before they get out into the world, so to speak. At the moment, our test coverage is not wonderful. So that's a really, really high impact place that you can improve things. And also in our developer docs, some of the code samples are not all that great. And that's again a way that you can help us improve the documentation by submitting code samples or writing tutorials about how to do things from a developer's perspective. So I'm sorry I ran over by like 5 minutes. Does anyone have any questions? I don't have any questions on my Google questions, but if anyone would like to raise their hand and ask a question, then I'm happy to take questions. I do appreciate that was a very quick run through of what Mautic is.
Okay.
Okay.
Hi, Evers.
Hi.
Yes, so I really do like the part. Yeah, so I really like I really do like how it works for especially for e-commerce, and I think that's really interesting. But I don't know what features do you think would be relevant for publishers? So for people who want to integrate Mautic, for publishers who want to integrate it on their blog, you know, for example, they are not selling stuffs. So how does it really help publishers?
So when you talk about publishers, do you mean people who run their own blogs, or do you mean people who publish books? Just so I'm clear what you're asking.
People who run their own blogs. People who run their own blogs.
Okay. So people who run their own blogs, some ways you can do that is by having a subscribe form for your newsletter, by understanding what resources people are accessing and how they're interacting with them. And if you have a blog that's providing information, you might be providing resources like downloads. You can track who downloads them, add them to a segment, and then if you update that asset in the future, you can then have a list of people you can automatically contact and say, hey, I've updated this resource, go access it. There's also an RSS to email plugin which you can use, which means like when you publish a new blog article, for example, and it gets pinged onto your RSS feed, it automatically sends that out through Mautic. So that's also something that might be useful / relevant. Yeah, I guess it depends on what information you're sharing.
Okay, Ruth, I want to contribute to that too. One thing I think you can do also as a site that do blogs is maybe try to also, from the email subscription, have a kind of newsletter that is different to some set of people. Somebody might be interested in politics, another person might be interested in maybe in sports, and then you are sending out a personalized newsletter that is actually telling them about all the content you publish for the week on politics to those that are in politics, on sports to all those that are in sports.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a really good point, actually. Okay, so there's another question from Wendell. I think you had your hand up. Let me just unmute you. Go for it. You'll need to click the button to unmute.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yep, go for it.
Okay. Just to add to the previous question, I think one of my favorite features about Mautic is the analytics part, where you can actually track which, probably you made a blog post or pushed up an article, you can track which people are actually reading which particular article more than the others. So there it also you can use it as a basis for finding out which kind of topics your readers are more interested in. So probably you can push more of those topics out and then get more traction to your site and all of that. So that's cool. So my question has to do with Windows documentation. So fortunately or unfortunately for me, when I started using Mautic, at my office, we only had a Windows server, and it was a huge challenge trying to get things running well and effectively in Windows. So I wanted to know, is there going to be some sort of upcoming work done on documentation regarding Windows, or you're going to stick to the Linux for the time being? Because I know there will be people who may have similar challenges, and going around the whole process sometimes difficult. Yeah.
That's a really good question. So the documentation is all managed by community volunteers, and I don't actually own a Windows machine, so I would be hard pressed to write that documentation. So given that you've already been through what sounds like that painful process, if you wanted to write that up, as in the information that you know about how to set it up on Windows, then I'm quite happy to help you learn how to put that into the documentation so that we can then include that for people in the future, about, because it is very much based on Linux, particularly Linux Apache. There's not much based on Linux Nginx, whatever you. So yeah, if you'd like to contribute to that, it would be super helpful.
Sure, that would be cool.
Yeah, definitely. We had a question in the chat. Can Mautic be directly integrated with mobile applications such as Android and iOS apps? If yes, what are the case studies? As far as I'm aware, yes. And I know that there has been a plugin / whatever you call it in Flutter and Dart, written by Luis, who is from the Brazil community. He's done a lot of work of integrating Mautic with those two tools. So that might be something to look into. And that information will be online. The best place to ask that kind of question would be in development on the community forums. So first of all, do a quick search to see if there is any information. But I would ask in development on the community forums. And like the question just a minute ago about setting up on Windows, if that information is not available on the docs, I can help you learn how to contribute that, because if it's something that you're asking, there's going to be other people asking how to integrate it with mobile applications. So yeah, I mean, most of the time what we do is we get people to write it in a Google Doc, and we share the Google Doc on our Trello board so people can help with editing. And then we take that from the Google Doc into Markdown for the documentation. And there's another question. Can I get the replay? I joined in late. Yes, absolutely. If you can join the meetup group, oh, Toby's just posted it. If you join the meetup group, we'll share it there, and it will be a recording. So yes, you should be able to get that. Any other questions? Okay, so Toby, did you want to go into breakout groups?
Yeah, let's quickly do a breakout group, everyone. So just 5 to 10 minutes for us to just discuss how we think we can be able to use Mautic in our various. We can just bring up a case study and we just discuss about it. So we can have just 2 breakout groups. So we have about 4 in each group. That makes us 4, 5 in each group. and that gives us the
Okay.
opportunities to be able to discuss. So let's just discuss on what we've learned, and now we think it can be used. So let's just come up with a something, maybe publishing, maybe e-commerce, maybe else, maybe that startup you are trying to run. You can just bring it up and everybody talk about it. Okay, we have two people raising up their hand. We have I
Okay.
am Israel Job is raising up his hand.
Okay. Go for it. If you got a question.
Israel Job,
Yeah,
you can talk.
yeah, I can talk. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear
Yes.
you.
Okay, yeah. I am Sarah Job. So what I want to ask is there a way for Mautic to integrate the double opt-in verification, because that seems to always have a lot of problem with the page it's not working properly. I think if this feature can be added directly into Mautic, where you can create a form and select automatically select, I want this to be a double opt-in verification. You can put the link that the user has to go to, when they click the email, so the email can be automatically verified. Because I don't know if you've experienced it, even though in the community, a lot of people have problems. The page it fails sometimes, and sometimes it can be very awkward just to see that, especially if your campaigns are based on, okay, send only these messages to people that have verified their email. I think Mautic should do something better on that.
Yeah, so there are some resources out there that give you a tutorial on how to do double opt-in effectively. In our roadmap, we're actually looking at having better GDPR control panel and that kind of thing. It's one of the task items in the roadmap. So that's definitely something that would be really useful to flesh out what that would actually look like how it would behave, so that could be considered for inclusion, and we would then have to kind of work on building it. So yeah, definitely. So I would say, firstly, have a look at the resources that are out there on the blog and on the forum and in the documentation. And if that isn't enough information for you, then it's something that we can talk about as a feature request. You should be able to find the GDPR improvements on the forum in the ideas category. So you could maybe add a thread on there to say, this is what I struggle with, and I'd like this to be improved in this way, if that makes sense. Okay, and there was a question from Wendell.
Yes. Hi. So I wanted to know, currently after this meetup, is there going to be like a community built just for, let me say, Africa or West Africa? Or because I'm not in Nigeria at the moment, I'm in Ghana. So I wanted to know, like, is there a plan going forward, or we only meet as and when needed?
Yeah, I could answer that, or so Toby's the lead of Mautic Meetup Lagos, but anyone can set up a meetup group anywhere. So if you are interested in Mautic and you'd like to set up a meetup group in your region, then absolutely. And we're encouraging people to do that. We can provide you with the meetup.com group and an onboarding process to help you get started.
Sure. Thank you.
You're welcome. So if you have any questions about that, feel free to ping me or drop me an email.
Sure, I will.
Okay, shall we do breakout groups then?
Yes, let's do breakout.
Okay, excellent. So we'll do that for about 10 minutes and you'll get a message that says you've got a minute left. There'll be a timer up in the top corner. 1, 2, 3, go. So you'll just need to click to join the breakout room. Are you going to join the breakout room, Toby? Hello, welcome back.
Thank you. Hi.
So people will just start coming back in from the breakout room shortly. So.
Sure.
Okay. All right. We are still waiting for others to join back.
Okay.
So how was the session? How was the breakout?
Yeah,
If you want
it
to
was
kindly,
good.
okay, yeah. So can we just share feedback from what we're able to discuss from our sessions? Anyone wants to talk? Okay, I am Israel. Do you want to share what you learned from the breakout session?
I didn't learn much because I didn't hear the audio properly.
Oh, okay, okay.
I only heard him saying about tracking behavior, like when a user comes to 100 points, they can send email, something like that. Well, I think that is already in Mautic, so I don't actually get what he's trying to see properly.
Okay, not that my problem. You can always watch the review, the recap of this video. It will be available for
Okay,
you.
all right, yeah.
Moshood?
Oh.
Moshood is muted. Moshood?
I've sent an unmute request.
Okay.
Maybe some people don't want to reply.
Okay, no problem. So that was it's really nice having everybody here today. I don't know if there's still any more questions before we call it a day. Anybody still have a question you want to ask?
Okay, the other time Ruth was she encouraged people to do if they want to organize a meetup, right? They can contact her, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean
Okay.
the process we have for organizing a meetup is initially just putting something in the forum in the country where you want to organize a meetup and say, I live in Lagos and I want to organize a meetup, and
Okay.
see if anyone else wants to help organize and join in. And then we have a process whereby you just kind of say, I want to organize this meetup and we'll help you with that. So
Okay.
the reason I say about posting it on the forum is because the forum is indexed in Google. So if somebody searches for Mautic in and then that country or region, they'll find that thread and they may respond. So
Okay, I grabbed that. Thanks.
yeah.
All right. Any other question? So in the absence of no questions, I want to really appreciate everyone for joining this call today. And thanks for your time. Thanks for taking out this part of your day to be able to join this call. I'm sure it has been helpful, it has been resourceful, and I'm sure that it's not a waste of time. It's something we want to go on and start implementing. And so this is Mautic Lagos. If you want to join us, please feel free to join us. I posted the link to our meetup link in the message. Please kindly join the meetup link. So when the video for this call is available, you will get a notification in your email that the video is available for you to rewatch. And if you like to be part of the community organizing, or being part of Lagos community trying to help with planning event like this, or you would like to speak, because every month we'll be having this. So our next one is going to be happening on the May 30th, same time, 11 a.m. So if you'd like to join us that time, please, if you'd like to speak, please kindly reach out to me. You can reach out to me in the meetup, or you can send me an email, oluwatobi.owolabi@mautic.org. All right. Thank you all for coming. Do have a very blessed time. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Okay, somebody is sending a message. Oh.
I just shared a link to my slides,
Okay.
which also has some resources underneath it.
All right. All right.
We'll send that out by email too.
All right.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks so much, everybody. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Have a good day.
Yeah, you too.